Hello and welcome everybody. I'm glad to have you back here on the channel. HeirofCarthage here, and I wanted to make a little bit of a different video today. This one was kind of in response to me noticing that Akshina Ambushers had kind of gotten shadow nerfed. Now, they did take a bit of a change in the patch, and they talked about that change where I think they were kind of changing splash damage and other stuff, which to me ultimately sounded like a nerf. But one of the things they actually didn't mention in the patch for some reason, and I don't know why they didn't mention it because it's a pretty big change and seems worth mentioning, is that Akshina Ambushers used to have armor-piercing weapon damage and armor-piercing missiles. They no longer do, and that's a huge change. And that worried me because the start for Mother Ostankya is really quite difficult in Nagaron. Now, I can handle it, and I'm sure other players with good experience can handle it as well, like you can still make do. But I was worried about how that might impact the playability of the faction for the players who relied on that type of thing. Plus, to me, it kind of made Akshina interesting in the sense that they were decent hybrid units. They didn't have much armor, so you know they could die a little bit easy to charges and counterfire and stuff like that, but it made them very potent. Now, I decided, you know what, I should go play through the campaign and see what it's like with the changes, because on top of the fact that they removed AP, missile damage, and weapon damage from Akshina Ambushers, other things came in that probably really went in the favor of Mother Ostankya. And so if we look at those, for instance, one of those big changes was Kislevite warriors. And just look at this. These guys don't have an amazing damage profile, but this is after they get some gold chevrons and stuff like that. I mean, when you have Kislevite warriors basically blocking all charges of large creatures, Akshina Ambushers become extremely potent because you actually have kind of a main line. The other thing I'll say about her army, and so number one, I would say, honestly, the addition of Kislevite warriors seems to balance out the loss that you had on the Akshina Ambushers with Mother Ostankya. So I honestly think that it's really kind of a net, no big deal. You know what I mean? I was worried about it, but ultimately it's really not a big deal. And it probably gives Streltsy back a little bit of their identity as the armor-piercing missile option. Now, that said, a couple of things to remember with Mother Ostankya that changed as well is the lore of hags. And I'll show this a little bit in a battle, but the lore of hags is brutal. Like, I mean, it is very strong right now, in my opinion. And it's fun. Like, I'm not saying they should go out and nerf it. I'm just saying I've been playing it in the campaign, and I find it to be quite powerful. I mean, you can do stuff like this, this Curse of the Ancient Witch. This just allows you to completely melt enemy lords or units. Like, I mean, it is obscene how much damage you can do with this spell. And then, if you did the Overcast version of it, you could put it on your own characters and make them do more missile damage. So Lore of Hags is powerful. It's very powerful. So again, probably appropriate that the Akshina Ambushers took a fairly significant nerf in the form of losing all that AP damage. It is definitely a huge tool that was added to her arsenal. And I am not making any, suggestions here necessarily in terms of like, oh, this should definitely be nerfed or this shouldn't be nerfed. I'm just giving you some initial impressions of it. I'm not one of those people who likes to come out and call for things to be immediately changed after we get it. I want to put my hands on it for a while and continue to test it. So for me, like I'm okay with the current state of it. Mother Ostankya is still very powerful. She does have a difficult start, but she certainly has deadly tools at her disposal. Now, one thing I will mention about the Mother Ostankya campaign that I do want to see changed, and you might be like, well, Eric, you just said you don't want to see. This is different. So I'm talking about things that were just in the patch. This is something that was there originally with the Mother Ostankya campaign that is still an issue with the Mother Ostankya campaign, and that is, and I can't show you on the map here, but you start all the way over here in the south end of Nagaron, and then Kislev and its cities are way over here, and you have a huge world between you here. You do have the opportunity eventually to warp via the magical forest and go make contact with Kislev, and you either have to ally with them or take control of one of the big Kislevite cities in order to be able to recruit the main Kislev infantry units. So I'll tell you this, within the first, because see, I'm on turn 51, by the 25th turn, all of the Kislev factions were defeated. And you might say, well, Air, how do you know that? Because I'm using a mod that allows me to recruit defeated legendary lords that were within my faction. So I know when those factions die because that lord becomes available to me. So all of the major Kislevite factions died within 25 turns, meaning I would have had to have waited all the way until I get this, and probably would have had to anyway, because how am I going to make contact with someone over here unless I specifically send a character at the very beginning of the campaign to march all the way across the world? There might be one of these sea lanes that takes me over there a little quicker. I would have to look at the sea lanes. I don't remember exactly. I think this one, for instance, just transits up to here. So that would be something I could look into, but more or less, like, I basically had no opportunity to be able to get to know them, and I'm going to have to now send an army using Jinx Land over to the forest and then take one of the Kislevite cities in order to get standard troops. And I don't know if this is intended or not. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure I like the fact that you have to go clear across the world in order to recruit the other Kislevite troops. Maybe there should be a different way to get to that in this campaign. Some people may not want to use mods like I'm using to get those lords either, and they may have a hard time knowing whether those are still available. So this is still kind of a bit of a mess, in my opinion, with the Mother of Stanky campaign. At least it is to me. You all tell me what you think about it. I think something should be changed. I don't know if it's like a series of events or like a tech tree that's further down so you just can't get it immediately, right? Or something like that. But maybe they need to make a change to how you get access to these, what do they call it? Gospodar or whatever troops. I don't remember the lore name for it. But anyway, it's kind of frustrating because that locks up some of Kislev's most fun units. Bear Sleds, Ice Guard, Streltsy, like they're all behind, you know, like a locked wall here until you're able to get those. I understand why that wall exists, because they're trying to draw a difference between Mother of Stanky's factions and the others. I get it. It just kind of stinks that you're playing a Kislev faction and part of the Kislev roster is locked up behind that wall. So again, something that I would like to see, not necessarily made super easy or stupid easy, but maybe just change the way that it comes about. Unless this is the way they want it to be. If that's the case, so be it. Anyway, the campaign, as you can see, I've been able to be extremely successful at it. Within 50 turns, I've spread all the way up here, and I've got the Dark Elves absolutely on the ropes. I'm bailing out Grombrindle to make a friend of him. I gave him some territory. I gave some territory to the sisters as well. And despite me having given them territory, they're typical sisters. They still hate me. Grombrindle's slowly coming around to the idea. But, you know, I'm going to completely, you know, own Nagaron here very soon. So there's no major concern here in my mind. Like, the taking away the AP damage certainly did not take away your ability to come out and absolutely own. Let me demonstrate that, in fact. I'm going to swing into a battle replay, and I want you all to see what it was like on the battle map with some of these new features. All right, so Malekith outnumbered me about 2-1. You'll notice I have a ton of curses on his army. These are a mixture of Whiff of Madness and Typhlosis for the leaders and expensive infantry units. And then I have the Agony Secession one on like the really expensive units like the Blackguard. And what you're going to notice is that I can essentially just exercise control over Malekith's entire army. Like, his is still coming in reinforcements, but this army is already in utter disarray at the beginning of the battle. The Whiff of Madness just instantly sends these units out of control. And essentially they can't use their shades against me. They can't use their bolt throwers against me. Their Charybdis is running amok. So I've essentially sent a ton of their units out of control. Look at the instant damage done to the Black Ark Corsairs and other units that I had the Agony Secession on. Same thing with these Blackguard. I mean, I can exercise immense control over their armies if I have access to the Spirit Essence and I'm making these curses and blessings. And, you know, my units over here, too, by the way, things that give me even more power. My spiders, through the research tree, spiders become immensely powerful. I have this slow death that comes from the Spider's Kiss research, and it basically spreads damage and continues. I mean, it is brutal. The spiders are amazingly good. Extremely good. And then despite not having the AP, my Akshina Ambushers still deal tremendous non-armor piercing damage. And then again, just look at this, how I can come and affect their army with Mother of Stankia. I can come and drop this spell over here and start hurting them more, and then their berserking out of control units come chasing me, and I'm able to kill them one off. So I am in complete and total control of the battlefield. Again, even outnumbered 2-1. I mean, Malekith is just completely at my mercy at this point. So see, like, I can lure these units over, and I can just murder them piecemeal. And there's absolutely nothing the Druchii can do about it at the moment. Now, obviously, a player could maybe handle some of this stuff different. And remember, this is campaign. This isn't multiplayer, so I get a lot of abilities here where cost is not a factor. And so this is not to be looked at as like a balance issue, you know, say like with multiplayer. And honestly, I like this kind of stuff in campaign. I worked my character up, I picked the right upgrade trees, I put the right army combinations to make this stuff brutal. And it is brutal. So again, my point here though is the AP is not needed. So again, I was frustrated with it when I first started because it kind of seemed like that typical thing that CA does where they make something fun and then they just take the nerf back to it and ruin it because, you know, it breaks multiplayer or something. And this does not seem to be the case here. So again, as I'm playing this, I was wrong in my initial thought. It's fine. Mother Ostankya, like I said, still has plenty of ways to become very powerful and to put a major hurt on our enemies. I mean, just look at this stuff we can do to them over here. This is an assault of stone that was bound to my Hag Witch, so I've got them running for the hills to not get clobbered by falling rocks. But I mean, just look at the damage we've done. I haven't even joined battle with these people. I mean, it's obscene the type of damage I can do to them. And again, my Akshina here just able to sit back with impunity and just massacre these units that come forward. So it's really, again, the AP damage ends up kind of being a non-factor here. And if I had it, it would honestly just make this even more ludicrous in my favor. But again, and look here, I slowed him down and made him extremely weak to missiles. Watch how quickly Malekith melts here. Just gets absolutely destroyed. I mean, one could argue, if anything, they shouldn't have nerfed the AP. They might should have nerfed this lower Hags that's coming in. But again, I don't want them to go make changes to this stuff right away. Let it play out for a while. All I'm saying is that I was under the impression that perhaps things from Mother Ostankya she got cheated. She did not. Lore of Hags is a huge asset. The Kislevite warriors are a huge asset. The taking away of the AP damage is totally understandable considering these things, and it again just kind of makes the Streltsy really become more unique. So I'll just let you all sit here and enjoy some of this absolute madness as I just lay down the hammer on my enemies. You can see Kevin here present, and yeah, there's a good cauldron spell here. Again, the amount of damage that you can crank out is just really, really insane. Watch this too. I've got spiders on this flank. Watch that spider's kiss in action. These are blackguards. Spiders are a unit that are a large entity. One would expect the blackguard to defend fairly well against them, but my spiders will absolutely destroy this stuff in rear charges. Watch that spider's kiss come into play again. This is a heavily armored, very resistant unit, and watch their hit points just start to melt away. They can't take it. Like, it is brutal, the amount of damage that your spiders can do, and it's really quite fun. So I think at this point, my only question would be about the way that you're able to pick up the standard Kiss units. It's not causing her armies to be too weak. For me, it's just more of a matter of immersion in the sense that you're going to want those units. And is it set up the best way? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'd love your thoughts on that. But anyway, you all tell me what you think of Mother Ostankya or any of the other campaigns that you've played since the 4.2 update. You know what I learned here? I thought something, and I was wrong after I went and tested it. So tell me what you're learning through your testing. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all soon with some more action in Total War Warhammer 3.